First, then I'll give the floor to Mattias Ruete, and we look forward to listening to your intervention. Please.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen, Secretary General, Secretary of State, Honorable Member of Parliament. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today. I thought I could get away with not holding a speech because you could see twice Sim Kallas, but in the end I will do so, and I will try and expand a little bit on what Sim Kallas was saying in terms of the evolution of EMSA's tasks. EMSA is one of the 3 regulatory agencies for which my Director General for Mobility and Transport has the responsibility, and I see representatives of the 2 other agencies here also in the room. EMSA is clearly part of the transport, the European transport family, and we are enjoying very close working links with EMSA. The Secretary General Mitropoulos has already recalled the starts of the agency in dingy rooms. I visited still when I became Director General in 2006 in Brussels. I also had the pleasure of seeing the first opening of the provisional building here in accommodation here in Lisbon, and it is really amazing how this agency over the last 8 years has been growing in such a beautiful building, which I congratulate you and also the Portuguese authorities on, because it is really a magnificent building, which is a good place to ensure that all the tasks that EMSA has are well implemented. Now, in 2000, when the proposal was made, Willem, you will be probably also acknowledging that nobody would have thought that EMSA would have, in 2011, specialized pollution response vessels under contract in all regional seas of the European Union. Nobody would have thought that EMSA would have had a satellite service called Clean SeaNet, allowing to track illegal discharges by vessels in European waters. I don't think we would have thought that EMSA would be running on a 24-hour, 7 days basis different maritime monitoring services, including systems for the IMO, the Paris Memorandum of Understanding for Port State Control, but also assisting or EU NAVFOR Atalanta operators against piracy. We did expect in 2000 that EMSA would carry out inspections in member states and third countries to check maritime administrations, naval academies, classification societies, and other stakeholders. We had also expected that the agency would be able to provide valuable technical assistance both to the Commission and to member states, including high-quality training courses. And it is no doubt the merits of Willem de Ruete to have set up and managed all these different activities while keeping the focus on EMSA's core business, which is maritime safety. Dear William, you have been a competent partner for the EU institutions and for the maritime community. You've made EMSA the first address for maritime safety in the EU. The subject of today's conference is the evolution of EMSA's tasks. And you have already heard from the message of Vice President Kallas that we are operating in a difficult environment. We only have to look at the newspapers today, yesterday, to realize in what difficult environment we are operating inside the European Union. And so, in terms of defining the tasks, let me be very clear. EMSA should and will stay the European Maritime Safety Agency. Should not become an all-embracing maritime affairs agency. It should not become a maritime academy training seafarers. EMSA has developed tools and expertise which are interesting for maritime transport and even beyond. EMSA has systems for maritime traffic monitoring, which, for example, can also facilitate intra-EU trade, providing evidence to customs authorities that ships are effectively staying within the internal market. EMSA is currently testing this concept with the Blue Belt project, which we have inaugurated together in Antwerp under the Belgian presidency. And the first results are actually, and the feedback both from ship owners and from national customs authorities are very positive and encouraging. We should make use of EMSA's tools for these purposes and let the European maritime space without barriers happen. But we should always remember that the core business of EMSA is maritime safety. Maritime surveillance has become a big topic over the last years, with different user communities having specific interests in data linked to the ocean, like fisheries control, environmental protection, border control, drug smuggling. New technical opportunities are coming up in order to upgrade, strengthen, and develop safe CNET and LRIT systems. We have the possibility to integrate data from different sources and prepare information according to specific user needs. And it is legitimate that EMSA brings its tools and expertise in this context. But again, back to square one, let's always make sure that we think about the core business. The Commission White Paper has emphasized very strongly the need to green transport, that transport must make a bigger contribution to the protection of the environment and fight against climate change. And I can only agree with the Secretary General that we think that climate change, whether it is in the context of aviation or in the context of maritime, should be preferably tackled in an international, global context in the specialized United Nations organizations.
Exclusively, not preferably, exclusively.
We have to move, we'll start the discussion afterwards, we have to move away from the dependency on oil to new propulsion systems. EMSA is already involved in some of these aspects, like post-reception facility for ship-generated waste, sulfur emissions, ballast water, ship recycling. We in the Commission would like to use and continue to use EMSA's technical expertise for emerging topics such as technical and operational measures to reduce CO2, to calculate ship emissions, on scrubbers, on LNG, etc. On the international scene, already Mr. Mistropoulos has quite clearly underlined that EMSA has been playing its role. The presence of also Mr. Shivkov and other distinguished international guests is a visible sign for the recognition of EMSA's role on the international scene. Delegations from around the world want to visit EMSA and look at the way the EU has established this agency. Member states have decided to set up a regional LRIT center rather than to have 27 different individual data centers. We have, as EU, also offered to the international community that EMSA manages the international data exchange, which is the heart of the international IT system. We are proposing to open EMSA's technical assistance to EU neighboring countries, to spread our EU approach on maritime safety to our neighbors. All this contributes to our idea in the white paper on transport that the external dimension of EU transport policy needs to be enhanced. And as one family, we aim to speak with one voice, or at least to sing from the same hymn sheet in the international context. And also there again, EMSA has been extremely helpful. A few words on governance. All regulatory agencies of the EU benefit from a high degree of autonomy. At the same time, the EU institutions decide on the agency's mandate, their objectives, their tasks, their budget, and their staff. They also supervise and monitor the agency's activities. Vice President Kallas in his intervention has already stressed the crucial role of the administrative board, in which EU member states, EEA countries, Commission, third countries, industry stakeholders are discussing and defining EMSA's activities. And I'm aware that there was quite a lively discussion on this even yesterday when the board was meeting. Discussions in the board are like in every family. We may not agree in the detail. We have individual preferences. But we share the general objectives of improving maritime safety, favoring quality shipping, and eradicating substandard shipping. Let me therefore thank Jürgen Hammer-Hansen, the outgoing chairman of the EMSA board. You managed to steer the discussions in the right direction, to build consensus amongst the different interests represented on the board, and you managed to do this in a way that both member states and the Commission and the Parliament and the Council think that EMSA is their agency. Difficult task. Finally, a few words about EMSA's future tasks. We will hear, I would imagine, from the representative of the Council, Ms. Vipic-Nyamietko, and from the representative of the European Parliament, Mr. Fleckenstein, in details, the views of how we will be evolving in terms of EMSA's task. Again, I am convinced that if we keep the focus on maritime safety, we will be able to agree on the precise description of EMSA's future tasks. And this is why, in reality, we quite like the new distinction which has been introduced in the legislative process between core tasks and auxiliary tasks, because we also think that, and we have already heard the word from the chairman of the administrative board, that we can, every time when we discuss the auxiliary tasks, that we need to, but we'll also be able to prove that there's an added EU value in terms of taking on the tasks in the agency. Allow me a few personal words about Willem de Ruete. We go back quite a long time. You joined the Commission in 1985, I just 1 year later. We really started working together in transport in 1998, where I was dealing with trans-European networks, and I think you had already moved from the inland navigation, which was your first and major task, and there are even some friends from the old times here in this room where you had been working on it, and which was also the fitting thing for you to do, because I believe you have spent some of your life on a barge. So to a certain extent, we have been working since 1998. We have been working much more, obviously, since I became Director General. I regretted always, and you know that I came too little to Lisbon, but you always found an open door in Brussels when there were discussions to be had, things to be sorted out. I think we always managed to sort them out. And you have been doing wonders both before you came to Lisbon, as Mr. Mitropoulos has already stressed in the context of the Erika and the Prestige accidents, under the responsibility of Loyola de Palacio and then Jacques Barrot, but also when constructing the agency, first in Brussels and then in Lisbon. It was your initiative which made sure that the name of Loyola de Palacio, who is closely linked to this agency, is actually there to see by naming the conference center after her, and I applaud you for that. You've brought EMSA to cruising speed, and you are leaving a vessel in good shape with a competent and committed crew which will continue its journey and reach out to new horizons. I would want to thank you again, Willem, for all the things that you have done, not only for the agency, also for European Union unity, for European Union policy. I want to thank you in particular in these very difficult times. Willem, you are a builder. and you can be proud of what you have built. And so from all of us, a big thank you, and if I may, I will give you just a little token of remembrance, a livre d'or, where each of us has actually been able to say a little bit more personally the words that I'm trying to address to you now. Thank you very much for that.